What's up, you beautiful people of the interweb? I am so excited you are here today. We got a great show. In fact, I got to tell you, I got more cameras set up than I've ever had set up for a live stream. By the way, my name is Kevin Kolbe. If we haven't met, and you are, I'd love to know who you are, where you're watching from in the comments. So let me know. And at any point today, you've got any questions about anything we're talking about, let me throw this up right here. Just use the hashtag ask in the comments. And as long as we have time, I can dive into it. I can answer it. I'll do that. Again, this is Ask StreamYard. And by the way, we love to feature questions from you, from the community. So if you ever have a question that you're really just thinking about, something about you could do with StreamYard, something with live streaming, it could just be live streaming in general, you can ask it anywhere on social you want to. Just use hashtag Ask StreamYard. In fact, let me throw this up there. It's too many things. So if you ever have a question, and typically we love to feature questions from the community. We're here every week, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time with this. I'm looking up my other camera to make sure the battery's still on. I'm violating one of my rules today of always having a dummy battery, but it's a camera I kind of threw up at the last minute. Not that it tasted bad. Sorry, they don't get any better. But if you ever have a question that you would like maybe featured on Ask StreamYard, wherever you ask it, wherever in the community, social media, make sure you use the hashtag Ask StreamYard, not today. And check this out. If we use your question, we're going to send you like a StreamYard shirt or some swag or something like that, because that's just the way we roll. But again, today, if you have a question about anything we're talking about, make sure you drop that in. So we already got some folks saying, hey, we got Mike's Auto Detailing in the house. Look at that. This will be good. I love using StreamYard. I use it every weekend. And we got Digimart Metal Detecting UK. I like that. Same here. Always have used StreamYard. Checking in from Montreal, Rio 197. Who else we got here? We got NLTMW. Greetings from Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. You know, a few years ago, I had a chance to, let me turn this on for a second. I had a chance to go to Niagara Falls. I was close. I didn't go. Kind of always wish I'd gone. And let me see who else we got here. We got Sylvester Wama. Is that right? From West Africa, Liberia. Good to see you, dude. Going Green Mom, good morning. Good morning to you. And we've got hello from Hong Kong. Good evening, Diana Fernandez. You know, that's the one thing I love about the interweb is that, you know, I'm in North Carolina in the United States, and so it's Eastern time here. But I just love the fact that you can connect with people all over the place. And look at this. We've got people still checking in. Paul is checking in from the Philippines, Northern Indiana. I've heard of that. I'm just joking. No, actually, I may have heard of that. Australia. Look at this. Kurt Manchester, United fan. All of that from Australia. And we've got another one from Ontario, Canada. So I love it. I love it. And remember, if you have any questions about what we're talking about today, let me know. And what the heck are we talking about today? We are talking about the best camera positions for live streaming, or a way to position your camera for live streaming. Now, I'm going to give you a preview. I'm just going to do this quick, but you're going to be able to see this, and you're going to be able to see this, but we're going to be talking about that. Ooh, how did you do that? Well, that's just part of the show. But let's talk about camera positioning, because, and this is more about live streaming. Look, I'll be straight up. If I'm on a Zoom call, which I try not to be because I'm not a big Zoom fan, it's okay. I use Zoom. I use StreamYard. Believe it or not, I use StreamYard for most of my client calls because it shows what you can do with StreamYard, and people are like, dang, that's pretty sweet. But the tips I'm going to share with you today, you can use on any conference call. Google, what's the Microsoft thing, the Hangouts thing. I'm a Mac guy. I know nothing about Microsoft other than Bill Gates is crazy rich and started it. I mean, that's all I know. But I'm a Mac guy, and one of the things that so everything I'm going to talk about today is all about more live streaming. Again, everything I share with you today, you can, if you wanna, you can apply to conference calls. You can. I'm talking more about live streaming because I think we've all seen, this, right? Where the person is like they're not even kind of on camera. It's like they're kind of off camera. I mean, have you had that happen? Maybe even on a live stream. Where the person is like, it's like, dude, do that. You hello, you're not even on camera, or the one that gets me. Let me know if you've seen this. It's the old up the nose shot. Thankfully, this person had cleaned the attic out before the shot. But it's kind of like, dude, can you not see we're looking up your nose? Ain't nobody got time for that at all. So today we're going to be talking about positioning tips, way to position your camera. Now, I'm going to show you, and I just gave you a quick shot of my setup. Now, I have a pretty high level setup. You could have this same kind of setup if you wanted to, but you don't need to. I don't want you to come away from today's live stream going, wow, I've got to go buy this, this arm to attach to my desk, and I've got to get, no, you don't have to. We're going to talk about a lot of aesthetics. So I want to check back in the comments here. And Microsoft Teams. Thank you. I couldn't remember that. Yep. Albert is checking in from Cleveland. I went to Cleveland a long time ago, and it is a cool place. Somebody saying better late than ever. Yep, that's right. Somebody. Okay. I like to position my camera right below my chin to show my triple chins. Look, if that works for you, you go for it. So yeah, I think we've got people here. One more check-in. Greetings from Mexico, and I am going to try and jump into the comments every once in a while, just make sure we're good here. Okay, so remember, if you have any questions about what we're talking about today, it will help me if you'll put hashtag ask, and that way, as I'm glancing at it, I can throw it in there. And by the way, I appreciate that. Great tips and greetings. And hey, Lima, Peru, checking in the house. All right, so let's kind of talk about something to think about when you are on camera, right? You know what? I'm going to turn this one off for just a second and save the battery. When you are live streaming and you are talking to the camera most of the time, and again, this might even apply even if you have a guest on. I want you to think about this. Think of it as if you're going to a coffee shop. I absolutely love going to a coffee shop. Let me hear you in the comments if you love coffee shops. Even if you're a tea drinker, I'm not. I'm a coffee drinker, but I still love you. But what I want you to think about is you go to a coffee shop, and I realize the world's been a little crazy for a while, but you can go back to coffee shops. And you're sitting there talking to a friend. Now, let me ask you a question for demonstration purposes. If you and I were at a coffee shop right now, which would be really cool. I love coffee shops, and that's actually a real coffee shop. I took that picture. I love that picture. Probably I'd get it framed. But if the whole time I'm sitting here doing this, yeah. Well, how are you? But now you're sitting here. So that's you, and I'm doing this. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just had a couple of questions to ask you. Would you feel engaged in the conversation? Now, I realize that sometimes when you're in person with somebody, it can be awkward to just keep staring at them. But if you take the mindset that you're meeting somebody at a coffee shop or whatever the scenario is, and you're actually looking at them, from across the table. It's about making eye contact. So that is like a tip, is you want to treat it like a face-to-face meeting. So once you now, and I realize not everybody is that comfortable on camera. In fact, I tell you what, I'm gonna show you my setup now, just to show you something. I think the camera came back on. So I have another camera set up right here, and I'm purposely, I need to change the focus box. I'm purposely want to show you my setup to show you how I'm talking to you, except I'm using this camera. So this is my main camera right here. So when I switch to it, I'm looking at you, even though my screen is underneath and I'm looking at the lens, because when you look at somebody, it's kind of like years ago when I was in television, a long time ago, we had a guy that he would call this the communication zone, which I always thought was kind of cool. It stuck with me. Now, it was all about camera and how tight and stuff like that. And, to me, where my camera is set up, I like this shot. I'm not too close. I'm not too far away. Plus my mic is right there. If you notice, my mic is right here. It's hanging off. So it's just out of the shot. But when I'm talking to that lens right there. When you talk to the lens, now I don't know if you can see it on this shot. You can't. So I have my flip out monitor. It's right there too. So I can actually, so this is a Canon M50 Mark II, and it's got the flip out screen. I can see the screen. So you want to talk to the lens. And by talking to the lens, you're talking to the person. Now, we're going to talk about where to place the camera and things like that. We're not going to be talking about backgrounds and stuff like that. This is more about camera positioning, right? So if you think about this, that right now, I'm looking at the flip out screen. Did you notice that I'm not looking at you? Now I am. So if you have a hard time of not looking at yourself, there's just some people, I don't know. There's some people that just like, you ever seen these people? Every time they walk by a mirror, they're like, or a window. When you have hair like this, at some point, you just don't even worry about it anymore. You're just like, hey, this is as good as it's going to get today. Hey, it looks pretty good. We're going to move on. But if having the monitor flipped out distracts you, once you set up your shot, then flip the monitor back. Now, the thing about the Canons, and I don't want to get into cameras. I'm a Canon fan, but the thing about the cameras is they will go to sleep. They don't turn off. I don't know who started that rumor, but the screen will go to sleep at 30 minutes. Now, all you got to do is hit the little toggle switch on top and it'll wake back up. Same thing with this one. This one will go to sleep here in about 30 minutes if the battery doesn't run out. So, but if once you get your shot set up, if you're using your flip out monitor or flip up, so like this camera is the M6 Mark II, and it has a flip up screen, which I have on right now. If that screen bothers you, turn the screen so you can't see it. Put something around the lens. I know of people that will cut out a piece of paper and put it right over the lens. So if you can imagine, you just put something right here that makes you look right here. But again, here's the difference. If I'm looking off at the flip out screen monitor, or even my iPhone over here, I'm not connecting with you. The best way to connect with somebody is look at the lens as if you're looking longingly into their eyes. I'm going to jump back in here. Let me see. Hello. We got some questions about the gear. We'll get into that for just a second. Somebody's saying, I talk to myself all the time trying to get stuff set up so that I can just use the background camera instead of the one with me on screen. Yeah. So, but again, if you look at this as you're talking to the camera, now you want to look into the lens, and let's talk about now where your camera is positioned. Now, again, I'm not trying to sell you on my setup. I do think my setup works, and I do love my setup. But you don't need this exact same thing. And in fact, again, I'm using a Canon camera. A lot of what I'm showing you, you could replace your iPhone with, which in a minute, I'm going to show you a little trick on the iPhone. But let me go to this shot right here, okay? One of the things that I do is I position my camera right above the monitor. Now, sorry, I guess company's coming over. My nose is itching. You ever heard that? You ever heard that? I mean, I'm originally from the South, so we always have those silly sayings. And so I have an electronic standing desk, and I stand actually a lot. I stand for my live streams. I stand a lot when I'm editing because it just gives me a different energy. If you're sitting, that's fine. So, but what I've done is my camera is mounted to a pole, very inexpensive pole that's attached to my desk. So I'm gonna take it down just to show you, and I'm gonna stop this in just a second. So if I take it down, okay, I'm gonna stop it. Stop. But if you noticed that the camera stays mounted exactly, so I'm gonna take it back up because these things have memories, so I don't want to always have to like change it, right? But right now, my camera is always locked in this position. So I have a monitor that can go up and down. So see, I can completely block it. So like if I take that shot, it's blocked. In fact, I can do that and do the reveal, and I just keep it just underneath. And again, this may be more of an extravagance than you want to invest in, but you can still do this. So if you have your camera shooting over the monitor, and that's what I like. I like to have my camera, my lens just over the monitor. And then what I do is I take the monitor and I lean it back just a little. And that way I can still see what's going on. I can still see the comments right here. And then all I've got to do is just talk over it. So it allows me to be able to glance off. Now, I know that there's a lot of folks that use teleprompters and things like that, to make it like they never look off. It's a live stream, guys. I'm going to look at my notes. I'm going to look at comments. Somebody say it's a good hair day for you. I love that. But this is how I cheat it, if you will. Again, I have the camera over the monitor so I can talk to the lens and it stays here. And again, I'm using this as my webcam. So I'm using my Canon as my webcam. If this was a webcam, you could do the exact same thing. You could mount it right here on the monitor. Now, I actually have my webcam way over there. I'll show you this quickly, but I don't have it set up where it's really more for just a high angle. So now you can see everything. You can see everything set up. And again, I'm not trying to pretend like you need all this, but you could take that webcam right there and you could mount it. Let me get out of that. You could mount it right here, or you could put it on a little tripod or something like that. And again, it's about positioning. It's about where you have the camera. So whether you're using a DSLR camera or a small point and shoot, or your phone, I'm going to show you something in a second on the phone, or a webcam, or the built-in laptop, or the built-in camera on your laptop, you want to position it where it's as close to eye level as possible. Now, if you notice something, it may be hard to tell, but this is pretty eye level. I mean, if I reach out and touch it right there, that's eye level. It's probably slightly angled down. And if I took the desk all the way to sitting, there's too much gap there. But typically, if I'm sitting and I'm on a call, I'm not live streaming, so I'm not worried about the positioning as much. Does that make sense? Somebody's asking teleprompter. There's actually software out there where you can put a teleprompter in front of your lens. So if you're not familiar with a teleprompter, it's just glass that the lens shoots through. So you can actually mirror then what you see on the monitor. You can put like a little iPad up there or a phone or something like that. That gets kind of a little bit more complicated. So you may be looking at my setup and go, well, that's kind of complicated. It's really not. It's really not. The mechanics are right now, I'm shooting over the monitor and it's on a simple tripod mounted to the desk. I'm sorry, a simple pole mount to the desk. You could do the same setup on a tripod if you have the space. I don't want that much space back there with mine. So another thing is you position the monitor for reference. Does that make sense? I think that's what I was trying to get at too, is that where my monitor is here is now at reference. I'm talking to you here, punch back here, and my monitor is here. So if you watch my eyes, I can glance down, I can glance over here. And yes, I realize that I'm breaking eye contact, but if we go back to our coffee, analogy, at some point, you're going to reach over and grab something, right? You're going to push the bill to the other person. You're going to reach down and get your coffee or your bagel or whatever. But for the most of the time, you want to talk to that. So let's say you don't have this option. Let's say you don't have the option of doing this. Something I used to do in my old office is, and I don't have anything to show you this, but just go with me for a second here, is I used to put my camera on a tripod right in front of the monitor, because this monitor will go up and down and it'll go vertical. And that's one of the reasons I bought this monitor. But I didn't have that flexibility before. And what I did is I put my camera on a tripod and I mounted it between myself and the monitor. And it gives you the same effect. So I would be looking at the lens, and in the background was StreamYard and the comments, and I could even move them over. Now, there's a downside to that, is because you might tend to be looking around it. But depending on the tripod, depending on the camera, you could use your phone that way. It's pretty effective. I got to say, it's pretty effective. So that's another idea. And it's all about eye level. So now let me shift gears to this. This is my iPhone. Right now, I've got the iPhone 11. The reason I get the 12 is I didn't want to spend the money. I was using the, and there's nothing special about, there's nothing special at all about the 11. So I had an 8 Plus for a long time until the home button, it finally stopped working. But here's the thing about phones, and it's about knowing where the lens is. Let me know in the comments if I'm looking at you. Say, yes, I see your eyes. If I'm looking at you in the comments, let me know, am I talking right at you? Just say yes. Let me have a yes or something like that, because I want to show you the little trick here that happens a lot of times. We got a yes. So here's the kicker. We got another yes. I want you to see something here, and I'm going to go back to this. So on an iPhone or an Android, I assume, you need to know where the lens is. So there's going to be a little meta here. If my cord is long enough, it may not be. So on a phone, oh, this is crazy. It is so tempting to look here because you see yourself, right? Like right here. If I take this shot right here, right? That's way too close for anybody. But you see what I'm doing this for effect, right? So you see my face. If I'm looking right at the screen, I see me, but I don't see you. Now I do, right? So it's about knowing where your lens is. And, you can call this a trick or a hack. That doesn't really matter. The lens is right here. In fact, I'll show it to you. It's right there. And the reason that's important is because when you're using your phone, I'm just going to keep saying iPhone. When you're using your phone and you still want to make eye contact with the person, it's going to feel awkward. I mean, it just is, because it looks like you're looking off. Now, I've known of people that have put Post-it notes here, a little dot. I'm not a big fan of putting paint or anything on anything like this. But as long as you know where that lens is, it's easy to make contact. So I'm going to put this back, and I'm going to get it positioned right here. And so right now, I'm looking at that lens, but in reality, if you saw me looking at it, and I don't know that you can pick this up, I'm actually looking right here, not here. And that's a trick on using an iPhone or an Android, we'll say a phone, if you're live streaming. And again, it can be a little awkward, but by making that eye contact, hopefully you feel like I'm talking to you, because I am. Just like I'm looking right here and talking to you there, or if I took this one right here. So that's a tip on your phone. It's very easy to not know where it is. Now, I can't show you my laptop setup because I use the MacBook Pro M1 and it's connected to a docks. But you've probably seen this too, where you're in a meeting and you want to live stream, or let's just say you want to live stream and you're using your laptop and you want to use the laptop camera. And look, guys, I realize that the built-in camera on the laptop is not your best choice. It's not. In fact, if you were rating cameras, that would be the bottom. I mean, the built-in, even though I've heard the newer ones aren't bad, and this one's not bad, but you'd have your built-in camera on a laptop, then you'd have a webcam, and then quite honestly, your phone, depending on your camera, can be just as good. And then you would have like a DSLR or mirrorless. And I really think those are interchangeable. And you could throw a camcorder in there. So that's it. But please, if the only camera you have to create content to live stream is the one built in on your laptop, use it. Use it. Don't let that stop you. Don't let that stop you. Don't ever quote me anywhere going, well, Kevin said don't use that camera because it's not very good. No, it's not, but it's better than nothing. And if you're on a Mac, you got all these other free apps you can use like QuickTime to record and stuff like that too. Or if you're on StreamYard, just use it. It's one thing I love about StreamYard. When this show is over, there will automatically be a recording of it. Bada bing, bada boom. I don't know where that came from. So, but if you have a laptop, remember this shot I showed you at the beginning? This. Do you know why that happens? Do you know why that happens? It's because most of the time when people are using their laptop, they set it down on something. So I want you to see the motion. They set it down here. So if I open this laptop right now, the camera's going to be here. And the only way the camera's going to see me is to point up. Now, hopefully you wouldn't get that. But it's going to be pointing up. So you're going to see the ceiling and my fan going because my office is very hot. And it's not an attractive look. Plus, it kind of looks like you're looking down on people. And I know we're getting kind of into the psychology, but there's nothing, let's go back to our coffee shop analogy. Like, I'm not that tall. So if I'm meeting with a guy that's really tall and we're sitting down, chances are we're a little bit more equal. That's what cameras do. The lenses, by looking at the lens, it equalizes that out. And again, this doesn't matter whether you're solo like I am. If I had a guest on and I had this two shot right here, I'd still be looking at the lens. And they're going to be looking at the lens. So if you have a laptop and you're using your laptop, set it up on books. Set it up on a shelf. Now, excuse me, I would highly recommend that you are sure, you are 100% positive. That's why I'm not crazy about books, is that, well, that's a whole different conversation. I'm a movie watcher. But you want to make sure that it's secure, because you don't want the laptop falling off, other than you might be like horrified that the laptop fell off right in the middle of the live stream. But you want to make sure that it's steady. A solid box might be better, but again, raise it up just so you can see it. That makes it a lot easy to do that. And here's another one. I want to show you this. So just like so imagine my lens is right there. You see how I can bend this like that? Same principle applies to a laptop. So if your laptop is like this, and even if you've got it level, we're doing the math, right? It's not math. If you got it level, you're still going to have that issue. Just bend it just a little. If you take this right here, and again, what's cool about this setup is it's on a very inexpensive selfie stick tripod. Now I have put a different bracket on there because it's a little bit more it's stronger, but the same principle applies. So if I, if I'm doing this, see what I mean? So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get it as eye level as possible. As eye level as possible. As eye level as possible. So those are the tips that you can use on your laptop. It's about raising it up. It's about moving that. Same thing with a tablet. Like I've got an iPad Air rather. No, wait a minute. No, it's an iPad Pro. No, it's an iPad Air. It doesn't really. I got an iPad. How about that? How about that? And the same thing. Now, if the case it's in has it lean way back, well, just prop it up on something. Because the more at least eye level or slightly above and slanted down. So you can tell right here, it's slightly slanted down, but it gives me this nice straight on look. I'm going to hop into the comments and see if we got anything. If you have any questions, let me see. I'm going to jump over here. Yeah, somebody's saying we use our laptop's built-in cameras, our third camera multicam view, so it works for multicam setup. Yeah, and you know what? That's a great idea. That is a great idea. I mean, if you think about this, today I'm using 2 mirrorless cameras and my phone, and I could have done the whole thing with the phone. So you can easily do that. Yeah, Savrina. That's all I've used in my 13 months of going live on Facebook. My laptop inbuilt camera. Yes, and here's the thing. Good for you. Good for you, because you know how many people wouldn't be even doing that because they don't have the right gear? Good for you. Good for you. So somebody is, so here's a question. My living room live. Are there any wide angle webcams available on the market? We have the Logitech C930E for our main camera, but looking for, there are. This one, I'm going to show you this one. I apologize. It's not set up. So this is the Logitech C920. I've got it clamped up to my bookcase over in the corner. I just do this for a very wide shot. By the way, the mics on the webcams are not that great. I think the Logitech Brio has a wider angle. Now, I will say this. One of the problems I've had recently is getting my MacBook M1 to read the Logitech free app, which is phenomenal because you can really dial in the shot. So to answer your question, yeah, check out the Brio. And I know there's a lot of off-brand webcams out there. I just think they're good. I would also look at price, because you might be able to, not sure, but you might be able to buy a used iPhone if you're an iPhone user or Droid, and use that as a second camera as well. And it might do you all the way. Somebody's asking how I'm connecting your cell phone to the system. So my cell phone is connected. It's actually coming in off this cord, this dongle, and I'm using an app called Shoot Clean Camera app. I think it's for a Mac only. What it does is it gives it like a clean feed, and it's going out HDMI out, because that allows it to shoot HDMI out right into my ATEM Mini. So I'm actually using it as an HDMI source. Dave Shore, my buddy, your multiple camera setup looks great. Appreciate that, dude. Let's see if we have any other questions here. Yeah, somebody's asking about the lens. So the lens, so right now I'm using the front lens. And the reason is because I wanted you to be able to see it on this shot. The lens on the back of your camera, on your back of your phone, is the better lens. So, I mean, typically we use it like here when we take selfies, but if you think about it, when you're using your phone to shoot video or something like that, that's usually your front lens. That lens, the front lens, is a better lens. I would say though, it's negligible, but that is a good point, though. I forgot who said that, but that is a good point that I believe if that again helps you from not having to look off to the monitor, flip it around. And by using, in fact, let's just do that right now. Let's see if we can. Okay, so let's see. Now I'm shooting blind here, but there we go. So like right now, I'm using the back lens. Let me turn this on. I'm using the back lens. So you notice right now you see the back of the camera. So this might be, and I forgot who asked it, but this might be a great question. And I'm not worried about the lighting right now, but there's two lenses right here. If you can see it, there's two lenses right there. And so that helps me look at the lenses better. So whoever asked that question, thank you, because that might be a good little tip that if you're using your iPhone, Droid phone, and you just keep looking at the screen where the camera ain't, maybe flip it around. And here's the thing. Here's a bonus tip. Whatever you see here is what's going to be on screen. And I really do think, and I'm not trying to be silly, but I do think people forget that. So if you've got your laptop and it's sitting on the desk and the camera's pointing up at the ceiling and you're halfway in the screen, or here, just for sake, if that's what you see on the screen, guess what? That's what everybody sees. Same thing with a flip out screen on any of my cameras. That's what people see. It just is. Good thought. Good thought. Let me see. Somebody asked me why I use the front camera and back end. That's why. Do we have any more questions? Anything I missed? I hope this is helping you. A lot of yeses. Thank you for asking that. So Efrella is saying, hey, Kevin, how to keep eye contact with your audience when you have a co-host else and they're always checking the active room? That's a great question. So, and again, this is different for everybody. So I do a lot of interview shows, video podcasts and stuff like that. And one of the ways to do it is, and again, this comes down to it. I'm assuming you're producing your own show like I do. I don't have a producer. But one of the things I do is, so let's say I'm talking to you, right? And I ask you a question and I'm like, hey, well, tell me how you got into to live streaming. And as you start talking, I take your camera solo, which is easy to do in StreamYard. And as you go solo, which means it's just you, I can glance over and look at comments. I can do something else. I can pull up a web page if I want. And when I have it, I go back. Now, again, I have in this setup, I have one big monitor, right? And I think it's a 27-inch monitor. You may have a smaller monitor. That's fine. You could also put a second monitor underneath you. In fact, I could use my iPhone right here to be looking for comments and stuff. So again, I think on a live stream, a lot of what you're asking about, this is me, this is my personal opinion. I think that comes down to what you like. I don't think it's fun. I mean, I have to look over to the questions. I have to. I don't have somebody like feeding me questions in my ear. I don't have somebody putting questions on there. But you know it's live. Now, even if you're watching this on playback, you know it was a live stream to begin with. So I don't personally have a problem with glancing off. I think it's more about during the whole thing of making that eye contact. Somebody's asking, Ria, what focal length of the lens do you find ideal for you? Well, it really depends. I mean, this lens is a 16 millimeter and, you know, it gives me that nice depth. This lens right here that I use on my my M6 Mark II is actually an 11-20, which I love. It's just a little bit wide. It's what I use to shoot all my videos. In fact, if you've seen other videos I've done and produced on the StreamYard channel, which I hope you have, I'm usually using that camera. It really comes down to preference. A lot of lenses have low light, some don't. Good question. And somebody's saying, can you share the product link to the camera mounting pole? We'll see what we can do about that. Let me see if we got anything else. Any suggestions for a teleprompter? I use my computer built-in camera to go live, but read prompts on my computer screen, so difficult to focus. I don't. I bought one once, and I think it was a Parrot. Was Parrot the teleprompter? I don't have any alignment and affiliation with any of them. And or was it a Glide Cam? Maybe a Glide Cam. And as soon as I got it, I thought, I'm just not gonna set it up because I don't script that much. Even when I'm producing my videos, I have bullet points. In fact, I don't mind showing you. These are my bullet points for today that I kind of glanced at occasionally just to make sure that I wasn't missing something I may have. I don't really use that, but I would look. I think it's called Glide Cam. And a lot of them will fit onto the camera. It's a little extra expense, but you can also use your iPhone as a prompter, an iPad. A lot of apps like that will work on an iPhone or an iPad. So I hope that makes sense. Somebody's asking. I'm not sure about that. So I hope this helped you. I hope this helped you. And by the way, I should have mentioned at the beginning, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we're constantly bringing you not just like this. Ask StreamYard is every week, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. But there's a lot of stuff on here that will just make your live stream look great. Tons of people on here, tons of shows too. So make sure you subscribe and hit like. So let me I wanted to kind of recap some of the takeaway points that to me kind of bring this all home. Look into the lens. There's nothing worse than not looking into the lens, which means you need to know where the lens is, right? Keep the lens at eye level. And again, we talked about some of this where however you have to mount it, whether it's on a tripod, a stack of books, a bookcase, just make sure it's steady. But if you keep it at eye level, the lens at eye level, same thing with the phone. Same thing with the phone. In fact, this one probably isn't as at the eye level. And it's going to look a little green, but if I do this, there you go. That's close, and I can adjust it, right? So keep the lens at eye level. Treat it like a conversation. And I can't emphasize this one enough, is that if you are talking to the lens, if you're talking to the camera, if you're talking to your computer screen, if you're talking to a prompter, treat it like a conversation. I know you may go, what does that have to do with camera position? I think it'll help you. Put the camera between you and a monitor. And again, this is really for if you don't have a setup, you don't have a place where you can do something like I'm doing where it's on the pole in the background, then put the camera between you and the monitor. I did that for a long time. And in fact, I actually had it like sitting more off to the side. And that way I could be talking and glance and talking and glance. And somebody was asking a few minutes ago about interviews. If I'm being interviewed, I don't worry about it. I'm talking to the lens, but I don't worry about all the other stuff. I worry about, I'm going to let them handle the comments and stuff like that. And then finally, if you have a phone, put it on a tripod. This thing is like, it was under $30. This one right here was under $30. And now I've got a different holder on it. And one probably bonus tip to these that I didn't include on here would be if you're using your laptop, put it up on something so you bring it up so you're more eye level. And just remember, whatever you see on the screen is what the other person sees. So, and I would always say, record it and watch it back. Watch it back, but give yourself some grace too. I really hope those help you. Your desk seems low, or is it your chair? No, it's about as high as it can be in mine. So appreciate that. Hopefully you guys got some coolness out of this. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you ever have a question, ever have a question, you can always ask it. But if you want to maybe have your question featured on Ask StreamYard, wherever you ask it, use hashtag Ask StreamYard. Hey, I am Kevin Kolbe. I've had a blast hanging with you today. Keep creating, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.